So, the guitar through the mixer works. Just thought I'd let you know. Yeah, that works. That works pretty well, actually. Yeah, not bad. Yes, it do. It do be working, though. Yeah, no, that's definitely good. That was awesome. Oh, sweet. Yeah, thanks, man. So, drummer, you want to hear something very strange? Check this out. Ready? So, here, you can hear this. You can probably hear the strumming. Yeah. But if I cut the mixer back in, it works. And then you can, oh, hold up. It kind of does it. It's not. Nice. All right. Well, that's working. It's primitive, but we could get it done. Could get that up and working and get it better later. Let me cut that out. So, welcome. Hello, and welcome. I'm glad you showed up for the concert. Yeah, there you go. I just got to do a regular sound check here for the stream audio, and then I think we should be good. Let's see. Yes, multi-streaming is working. Yes. Time to watch Delta go burr for the last time. That's right. That's right. Today marks the last launch of a near 60-year history of Delta and Delta family of rockets launching from the coast, amongst other places. Today we got a Delta IV Heavy launch, the NROL-70 or L-70 mission for short. There is a 90% probability to go today on the launch, so we should be good, man. It is a little bittersweet, but you know, hey, it is what it is. You know, Delta IV is a great rocket. I think it's an amazing machine. Personally, it's one of my favorites. It's just another rocket that I grew up with being retired. That's weird. Don't like that. But hey, whatever. It is what it is. Life goes on. You know, I wouldn't be, like I said, it's bittersweet. I would be more upset about this if there wasn't a good replacement for it. But if you think about it, right? Delta may be going the way of the dodo, but we got better rockets to replace it. There's Vulcan, which is Delta derived. A lot of Delta IV's manufacturing found its way into Vulcan's manufacturing. And then we got New Glenn coming too. So, you know, one rocket down, two rockets take its place. Two better rockets take its place. One of them being, well, actually both of them being partially reusable. So, you know, it stinks to see an expendable vehicle go out like that, but it being replaced with partially reusable vehicles is good. That marks a huge shift in the industry, which is great. So, once again, it's a little bittersweet, but hey, Sometimes you got to take old Yeller out back. You know what I mean? Any workers planned for today? Yeah, most likely. There is going to be a lot of space news. So workers, we'll probably do Delta coverage, and then we'll work on we'll play workers for a little bit, and then we'll do space news kind of at its more or less normal start time. Let me just make sure I have the suppressor on. There we go. Payload fairings on Delta IV Heavy are the last piece of Titan-derived hardware as well. Yeah, the trisector fairing. Yep. So here's, courtesy of ULA, this is the rocket that's launching today. The L-70 spacecraft is up at the top with its trisector fairing. It's a three-shelled fairing as opposed to a clamshell. Clamshells open up like this. This one is going to do that. That is a special type of fairing that is designed for whatever L-70 is. I guarantee you that's not what it is right there, but let's just say that that's what it is, right? There's a payload attachment fitting, the Delta Cryogenic Second Stage, or DCSS, with a RL-10C21. Interesting, a C21. Huh. How is Newglen's considered a replacement for Delta IV? Theoretically, any rocket still flying is a replacement, right? You'll find out. In good times. And then we have 3 Delta Common Booster Cores with R68A engines in the first stage here. C21 is just a B21 engine after the assembly line was restarted. Yep. Yep. Okay. So, the ULA cast should start here real quick. It should be popping up here in a moment. Let me just tee this up. How long until the launch? AP, we're looking at about 30 minutes. It's scheduled to go at 53 past the hour. So yeah, about 30 minutes. ULA should begin the cast in about 5 here. And yeah, this little bit of stats for the launch here, courtesy of Next Space Flight. This is the 68th launch attempt overall from any country from 2024. This is ULA's 160th mission and their second mission of 2024. For Delta IV Heavy, this is the 16th Delta IV Heavy to fly and its first mission this year. Stylish beard, looking good. Oh, thank you. This camera makes it look patchy, Forlorn. It makes it look a lot less full than it is. I don't know how to feel about that, but yeah, whatever. It ain't gonna bother me. First, you mean only. I mean, you could be used interchangeable kick, but, you know, in our incessant drive for, you know, being technically correct when it's entirely not needed, sure, you could say it's its only launch. Yeah, this is the last one. There's going to be no more after this. Delta is being retired. Delta's first started flying in the early 1960s. And yeah, they've gone through a lot of different iterations since then. There was Delta 1. Well, they started with Thor Able, the Thor IRBM, then Thor Able, then I think Thor Agena, I think, after that. And then there was Delta A, B, C, D, E, and F. And then there was Delta 2, Delta 3, and then Delta 4. I'm just sad we don't get a Delta 5. Here comes the SLS rant about how SLS is a Delta booster from EJ. So if you've heard this one before, you probably just mute for the next 5 minutes. I don't think personally, this is EJ's personal opinion, and this is me hitting the copium pretty hard. I don't think that this is the last Delta launch. I think SLS is a Delta rocket. Yep. Yes, it's shuttle derived, but it has a Delta upper stage. If that's enough to constitute a name change between Delta 2 and Delta 3, and carrying the nameplate to Delta 4, even though Delta 2 and Delta 4 are nowhere near each other, then that would mean that SLS having a Delta-derived upper stage means that SLS is Delta 5, or a Delta 10,000 if you know the naming convention. No, you're not changing my mind. You're assuming we listen at all.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
Then why are you here? Yeah, that's a good time. Sure, RJ, yeah. 1973 video, Concorde chasing an eclipse. That's cool. ULA is live with the cast here. No music just yet. I'm going to do an audio test to... hang on. There we go. I do have permission from them, just in case anybody's wondering. Let's see what we got. No, it's even better. Sat pass, yeah. How cool was yesterday? That was a pretty good time. What's the cargo being launched? This is the NROL-70 mission. It's a National Reconnaissance Office mission. So, what is the cargo being launched? Yes. Yes, cargo is being launched. Good question. Moving on. Will this get marked on YouTube?
Discovery,
should be all right.
go at throttle up.
Launch director. Launch vehicle
You sound stuffy. You need to start slamming some vitamin C.
We have ignition.
Coffee has vitamin C in it, right?
And we have liftoff of the United Launch Alliance Delta IV Heavy rocket.
Time is the launch. 30 minutes.
Spacecraft separation.
Good afternoon. I'm Andrea Lenhoff. I'm a systems engineering leader at ULA and your host for the final Delta launch carrying NROL-70 for the National Reconnaissance Office. I'm here at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida, where liftoff is currently scheduled for 12:53 p.m. Eastern. In addition to watching our webcast, you can also follow live mission progress at ulalaunch.com. The count is currently in a planned hold. We have 2 planned holds in our launch count, which give our team additional time to resolve any issues prior to entering the terminal count. At this time, the team is not working any issues and we're proceeding towards an on-time liftoff. Live mission coverage will continue through payload fairing jettison, which occurs about 6.5 minutes after liftoff. To tell us more about today's mission customer, let's go to ULA's Ben Chilton over at a viewing location on the causeway.
NA.
Thanks, Andrea. I'm Ben Chilton, an ordnance engineer at ULA, and I'm joining you from the ITL Causeway just a few miles south of Space Launch Complex 37. There's a lot of people out here on the causeway that have come to watch this last launch of the Delta IV Heavy, and it's a beautiful Florida day for us to witness this rocket take off. Today's mission is for the National Reconnaissance Office, or NRO. The NRO is the leader in developing, acquiring, launching, and operating the nation's intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance satellites to secure and expand America's advantage in space. The NROL-70 mission will strengthen the NRO's ability to provide a wide range of timely intelligence information to national decision makers, warfighters, and intelligence analysts to protect the nation's vital interests and support humanitarian efforts worldwide. Back to you, Andrea.
This is the 16th and final flight of the Delta IV Heavy rocket and ULA's 160th launch. Here's more about this heavy lift rocket.
She's a beast.
Designed by ULA's engineering team and built by our skilled technicians, the Delta IV Heavy rocket, once fully stacked, stands 235 feet and weighs 1.6 million pounds fully fueled. At the base of the rocket is the triple booster first stage, powered by 3 RS-68A engines, which together produce more than 2 million pounds of thrust at liftoff. Atop the center booster is the Delta Cryogenic Second Stage, or DCSS, powered by an RL-10 B2 engine. Spacecraft are encapsulated inside a 5-meter diameter metallic tri-sector payload fairing. With production of the final Delta complete, the rocket travels from ULA's factory in Alabama to the launch site in Cape Canaveral on ULA's rocket ship. Once in Florida, ULA's launch operations team begins a series of events leading to today's countdown. The process begins by transporting and lifting the booster and DCSS onto the launch table at Space Launch Complex 37. Then, the encapsulated payload fairing is lifted and mated to the DCSS. Once fully assembled, the launch countdown begins when 40 hydraulic cylinders at pressures nearing 3,500 psi raise the Mobile Service Tower, or MST, about 8 inches. The carriage transporter system then moves the MST to its launch position, approximately 345 feet north of the rocket. Weighing in at approximately 10 million pounds, the 100-foot wide, 300-foot tall MST protects the rocket and payload from weather here on Florida's space
You think that's
coast.
going to show up on Gov Auctions, the MST?
With the rocket on the pad,
should buy
the
it.
launch team transitions to fueling and other final preparations. Across the interstage of the Delta IV Heavy rocket is the American flag and the Space Force, Delta, and ULA logos. Note the number 389 inside the Delta logo, signifying this launch's place in Delta history. Additionally, on the fixed umbilical tower, we see mission artwork. Provided by the NRO, the art features a snow leopard, representing the NRO's quiet strength and providing an advantage to community, the nation, and its allies.
No, that's just a VO guy, Bugogi. So that's not AI
minus
voice.
25, T minus 10. PNE, LC.
Toto, you're talking about engine out capability. You could have, I'm not sure about with Delta. With Delta, not so much because you only have 3 engines. But rockets, a lot of rockets nowadays have clustered engines, so you could have one pop and the others can compensate for it. This one, not so much. Which is why you see kind of part of the reason why you see Delta scrub all the time, because you have to be absolutely sure you have to be absolutely sure that this thing is good to go. Now, simultaneously here, 3 engines total, 1 engine on each booster is a lot more simple. So think about it for a second. It's actually pretty simple comparatively to an engine with 9, right? It's easier to start 1 than it is 9. So there's a trade-off here. This rocket's a little bit simpler to fly. It's simpler to make it work, but you absolutely need to make sure that it's going to work. I mean, you pretty much need to make sure it's going to work anytime, because most of the time when the rocket's doing something you don't want, it usually results in an explosion that you don't want. But for this rocket, I'm not so much. But other rockets, sure.
Advocate and leader for the Office of Space Launch and in the broader space launch community. Chip was the OSL director for the first Delta IV Heavy launch, so it is only fitting that the last Delta IV Heavy launch is dedicated to him. To our leader, mentor, and friend, Godspeed, Chip. MD out.
LC concurs. LD?
LD concurs.
MD?
MD concurs.
ABE, are you in a position to perform the task as the anomaly team has directed?
Affirmative.
Roger. T minus 8 minutes. ALC, configure CCTV for launch monitoring.
Today's flight is also dedicated
Roger.
in memory of
CMA,
colleagues who are no
configure
longer with us.
CCTV for video
Let's
recording.
remember our teammates.
Today's flight is dedicated to Doug Thompson, Mark Cox, Brent Bonar, and George Lucian. After working as a pipe fitter for high-purity systems, Doug Thompson joined Boeing's internal upper stage program, later transitioning to the Delta program. Doug supported many Delta rockets and facilities during his career, including Delta vehicles launching from the Cape's Slick 17 and Slick 37 and Vandenberg's Slick 6, in addition to solid rocket booster and payload facilities and the machine shop. In his personal time, Doug and family traveled throughout Florida and Georgia, enjoying his passion for motorsports, including drag racing the '63 Corvette he built himself. He will be missed.
This guy's a G, man.
As a U.S. Army veteran,
that's awesome.
Mark Cox began his aerospace career in 1984 at McDonnell Douglas, then Boeing, and eventually ULA. Following his transfer from ULA's Pueblo site to the Decatur, Alabama factory, Mark was instrumental in establishing the metrology lab there and in standardizing measurement and test equipment calibration across all ULA sites. He was respected by his peers throughout the industry and developed many personal relationships over the years. Always resilient and positive, Mark encouraged his teammates to face adversity while continuing to care for others. He will be greatly missed. Godspeed, Sergeant Cox.
Sir?
Brent Bonar joined Aerojet Rocketdyne as a space propulsion mechanic in 2006 and contributed to the safe delivery of nearly every RL-10 engine through his last mission, NROL-68, in 2023. A loving husband, Brent was also a tireless volunteer, deeply committed to helping others, including 3 trips to the Bahamas in 2019 to support residents following Hurricane Dorian. This effort led Mark to logging more than 600 volunteer hours and being recognized as Aerojet Rocketdyne's 2019 Volunteer of the Year. Brent was kind and generous and a role model to many people. He will be missed. George Lucian began his career in 1960 as an electrical systems engineer with the General Dynamics Corporation, following his time at the University of Nebraska, where he earned a bachelor's degree in mathematics. In 1964, after working at the General Electric Company on the Apollo program, George began a new chapter at the Goddard Space Flight Center, followed by a move to the Kennedy Space Center. During his NASA career, George was an engineer, branch chief, division chief, and assistant launch manager, all in support of NASA's Expendable Launch Vehicle Services program. His career spanned 60 years and more than 400 launches. George was an invaluable team member, a mentor to many, and a true friend to all.
I like trains. Yeah. Oh man, what talent.
T-minus 5 minutes.
That's really cool. It sucks. Some of those guys looked a lot younger. But man, good stuff. There's always good people out there. Just gotta go and find them. I don't think so, Jax. They're gonna go into a planned hold here for probably about the next 20 minutes here. Planned hold is just basically stopping the timer for a second and making sure that everything is good to go before you initiate the final count.
T-418. We anticipate entering the hold in just a few moments.
H3 needs the boosters though, guys. So I mean, I don't know if that counts. I mean, by that logic, SLS would count too if you want to go by that nomenclature.
T-minus 4 minutes and holding. This is a 15-minute built-in hold.
LC switch to not ready position.
Launch coordinator switched the rocket
Since
into
1960,
the safe
Delta
position.
rockets have been an integral part of America's space program.
We don't know yet.
The on-orbit assets it has launched have improved life across the globe. Let's take a look.
Why are they getting rid of Delta IV Heavy? Well, they got Vulcan. Vulcan will replace it.
Following more than 60 years lifting historic missions to space and becoming a pillar in American rocketry, the Delta program is coming to a close with its final launch. Here's a look back at some of the groundbreaking firsts and iconic missions launched on Delta rockets. Delta quickly established its record of excellence in the 1960s, launching Echo, the world's first communication satellite, Tyros, the first space-based weather observatory, and NASA's Pioneer and Explorer scientific spacecraft. The introduction of the Delta II rocket on Valentine's Day 1989 ushered in the GPS era and a capability that improves life on Earth every day, from navigation to banking, agriculture, and beyond. The beloved Delta II earned its place in history with 155 flights, with 8 of those missions to Mars for NASA, including the Spirit and Opportunity rovers. The Delta program's commitment to vehicle improvement to meet customer needs culminated in the Delta IV family of launch vehicles with a wide range of increased capabilities. Delivering missions for the Space Force, National Reconnaissance Office, NASA, and commercial clients, every Delta IV launch has been successful. As America's trusted heavy lifter, the triple-barrel Delta IV Heavy launched the first Orion spacecraft on an uncrewed shakedown cruise and sent the Parker Solar Probe to surf the atmosphere of the Sun.
What a monster. I love it. I love
The
this rocket.
16th and final flight of the Delta IV Heavy rocket carries NROL-70, capping off the incredible legacy of this program.
You guys remember Delta II?
The Delta program has been an important part of
Delta II was like Falcon 9 in the late 80s into the early 90s. It was a very low-cost vehicle and an extraordinarily capable vehicle for what it is. Not reusable, because that meta would come a little bit later, right, with Falcon. But these rockets, Delta IV, Atlas V, Atlas III, Delta II, these were all rockets that really kind of paved the way to a burgeoning commercial market. These rockets were designed around the dot-com boom, and then unfortunately never got to do exactly what they were designed to do. I mean, Atlas and Delta have had a pretty dang successful career thus far, but these rockets were designed to launch a lot and launch for low cost. That's part of the reason why Delta IV has hydrolocks in the first stage with no solids attached unless you're in the medium configuration, right? The reason why is because, hydrolocks is a pain in the butt to use, but if you use it a lot, it's not that big of a deal. High launch cadence was what these rockets were designed for, which ultimately, because the demand went to nothing in the 2000s because of the dot-com bubble, right? It ultimately became very expensive to launch these things. But they did pave the way to low cost. They did pave the way and pioneer kind of low cost commercial applications, something that eventually Falcon 9 would come and, take hold of. I think it's a very good thing a very interesting thing to say that, rockets like Falcon 9, these rockets paved the way for rockets like Falcon 9 to exist. They really did, for better or for worse. But they are awesome vehicles. Delta is a really, 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 really cool thing. It lights itself on fire when it launches. It's really, really cool. But yeah, I'll stop ranting here for a second and we'll jump back into the cast.
Up and down a heavy vehicle, been able to support on console and been part of the day of launch activities. So I've seen it from a unique perspective. Those memories will always stick out.
We took a lot of lessons from Delta. Aluminum skins, machined, brake formed, welded together with friction stir welding. The first time we used that was on the Delta IV program.
One lesson learned from Delta IV that will stick for our future launches is our record of mission success and our focus on mission success, making sure that all of our launches accomplished what we wanted and delivered the payload for our customers.
So you saw that Delta IV stack standing behind him. So interesting thing, I think something that's important to understand is, Delta doesn't look too big if you compare it to other vehicles, but those three RL-10s that are in that, or not RL-10s, RS-68As that are in the first stage, you could stand inside of the nozzle. No, I have not stood inside of one, but I've stood next to one. Yeah, can confirm. You could stand inside of that right there. Look at the dude on the scissor lift right there. You don't grasp the scale of this rocket until you stand next to the thing. Now, some of us probably won't ever get to do that, but yeah, these RS-68As are as big as shuttle motors. They're huge. Very, very, very big. In fact, the RS-68A is derived from the RS-25. It's supposed to be a low-cost, expendable version of it. Interestingly enough, it's a hydrolox motor that's open cycle with open cycle gas generators and an ablative nozzle. The nozzle is actually heat shield. They make the nozzle material for Delta out of heat shield because you're only going to use it once. Did you stand next to it when it was fueled? No. We are held at 4 minutes. That is a planned hold. The count will resume at 50 past the hour. Nice, caveman.
After liftoff, the Delta IV Heavy will head east from Space Launch Complex 37. Here's a look at today's ascent.
To mitigate the fireball created by the hydrogen-burning Delta IV Heavy rocket, the staggered engine start sequence begins with ignition of the launch table HPOs, burning off the excess hydrogen injected into the flame duct. Next, the starboard Delta IV Rofi lights, igniting its RS-68A engine. Then, the center and port RS-68A engines ignite to generate more than 2.1 million pounds of total thrust to lift the 1.6 million pound triple-core rocket off the pad. Shortly after liftoff, Delta begins a pitchover to attain the proper flight path while minimizing the pressure the vehicle experiences during flight. Delta then reaches Mach 1, the speed of sound, followed by the rocket reaching maximum dynamic pressure as it travels through Earth's atmosphere. With propellant depleted in the port and starboard boosters, the engines shut down and the boosters jettisoned to shed their weight. The remaining booster engine then throttles to full power to maximize performance against gravity losses.
I know what you mean, Shatter. What are you gonna do?
Once propellant levels deplete in the center booster, the engine shuts down and the booster is jettisoned from the second stage.
Hydrolox
The vehicle now weighs approximately 6% of what it did at liftoff.
Shatter, thank you for the 48, buddy. I appreciate it.
Following jettison of the center booster, the Delta Cryogenic Second Stage, or DCSS, main engine ignites. During ascent, NROL-70 is protected inside a 5-meter diameter metallic payload fairing. After traveling through the densest part of Earth's atmosphere, the payload fairing is jettisoned.
Trisectors,
The
man.
Delta IV
Titan
Cryogenic
derived.
Second Stage carries the last payload to launch on a Delta IV rocket to its final orbital destination, where it will begin its national
10
security
minutes.
mission.
Does he follow the YouTube chat? Yes, I do. I'm popping back and forth.
As we continue the countdown to launch, let's head back over to Ben Chilton on the causeway.
The trisector fairing is derived from the payload. What's the payload? Yes. Here, back to Ben.
Of this magnificent rocket.
Discovery,
We're about a
throttle.
mile and a half from Slick 37, and when we reach T0, it'll take about 8 seconds for the sound to reach us, though we'll already be able to see Delta lifting off the pad. Currently, the weather conditions look great for launch, but I'll pass it back to you, Andrea, for the Space Launch Delta weather forecast for today.
Thanks, Ben. The forecast for this afternoon's launch is looking good. The probability of violating launch constraints is 10%. Ground winds are 14 to 22 knots out of the southeast, and the temperature is 74 degrees Fahrenheit. Our primary concerns for launch today are ground winds and the cumulus crowd rule violation.
RLM, verified red line monitor.
If you hear Andrea going, that's because if she has the control loop on in your ear, it's hard to talk and listen at the same time. Sometimes your brain doesn't do that very well. I do that all the time. So if you're wondering, like, what the heck she's hearing the ground loop. That it's really hard to talk and say and listen to the loop at the same time. You're gonna be like, basketball? Yeah, it's a pet. That happens. That absolutely happens. There is a payload. That's right, Shatter. Yep, the payload is yes. Hello, my vans, over in YouTube. What's up? Yeah, Yellow, it's a pain in the butt, man. So, we're looking 90% probability to go. If you see that those clouds up there that kind of look kind of long and wavy, those are high altitude clouds. It's cumulus up there.
Minus 8 minutes.
We remain in the planned 15-minute hold as we continue towards liftoff.
Yes, Betterhand,
In a
yes.
few moments, launch conductor Scott Barney will pull the launch team for the final go to pick up the count. 28 engineers and managers are pulled for system status and readiness to proceed. This is the final status check for all Delta vehicle systems, ground systems, spacecraft, and the U.S. Space Force Eastern Range. The vehicle system readiness pull includes electrical systems, hydraulics, pneumatics, propulsion systems, flight control, and propellants. Let's listen in as Scott Barney performs the final pulling.
This is Slick 37B, Weibus, Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. ULA is not military. ULA is a commercial provider, Xanax, providing a service for the U.S. Department of Defense. You warped. Oh, geez, bless you. Yeah, 4 daughters. Yeah, you can't get a word in edgewise, can you?
Till minus 7 minutes. Status check to proceed with terminal count. First stage systems.
Here
propulsion.
we
Go. Hydraulics.
Go.
Locks.
Go.
LH2.
Go.
Second stage systems. Locks.
Go.
LH2.
Go.
Electrical systems. Airborne.
Go.
Ground.
Go.
Facility.
Go.
RFFTS.
Go.
Flight control.
Go.
Com.
Chat.
Go. GCQ.
Go.
Operations support.
Go.
Pneumatics.
Go.
Umbilicals.
Go.
HASGAS.
Go.
ECS.
Go.
Red line monitor.
Go.
Mechanical engineering advisor.
Go.
Quality.
Go.
Ops safety manager.
Go.
ULA safety officer.
Go.
Vehicle system
Discovery,
engineer.
go at throttle up.
Anomaly chief.
Hey, Talon.
Go.
Range coordinator.
Clear to proceed.
Launch director.
Launch vehicle is ready to launch.
Mission director.
You have permission to launch.
MD has
Proceeding
permission to
with the
launch.
count.
Let's roll.
AL 6. ALC verify T0 is set for 1653 Zulu.
Verified.
All right, that's good.
Pulling is
MEQ
complete
established
and the
swing
team
arm
is
lock pins
go
full.
for launch. From T-minus 4 minutes until
Swing
liftoff,
arm
you'll
pins
hear
are
Scott
active.
Barney and the team performing the final steps in the countdown procedure. Several critical activities occur in the final minutes before launch, including verifying fuel tank levels and pressures in the 3 boosters and DCSS, in addition to arming the flight termination system. At T-minus 1 minute, the Range Operations Commander confirms the range is in a green condition for launch. At T-minus 15 seconds, the launch table HBOs at the base of the rocket are ignited to burn off excess hydrogen.
Hydrogen
At
burn off.
T-minus 7
HBO.
seconds, the starboard
Not home
engine
box
is
office.
ignited. At T-minus
Yeah, you were
5
thinking it.
seconds, the
Don't lie.
port and center engines are ignited. Once the Delta IV Heavy lifts off, you'll hear flight commentator Rob Gannon providing launch
5 minutes.
vehicle ascent data.
TD verify SV configure for launch.
What are those towers? Lightning
TD on
rods.
net 1, SV, configure for launch.
Roger.
So those 2 towers on either side, there's actually 3. There's 2 on one side, 1 on the other. The oil rig looking structure here, that's the fixed service structure that carries fueling and electronics to the vehicle, amongst other things, and HVAC for the payload fairing. These 2 big guys right here are lightning towers. There's a lot of lightning down in Florida. If you don't know, if you're from overseas or something, a lot of lightning, a lot of thunderstorms down there. It's tropical climate. You get tropical climate conditions. Thunderstorms like crazy. I don't think I need to explain why lightning hitting that is a bad idea. You do not want that to happen. All right? Just take my word for it. They tried that once during Apollo 12. It didn't end well. Well,
T-minus 4 minutes
kind
and
of
counting.
did, but kind of didn't.
Minus 355.
Ground pyros enabled.
So the ground pyrotechnics are the separator
350.
systems that they're in those boxes right there on each booster. There's 4 on each.
The countdown clock is resumed and we are
Clock's
go for
resumed.
launch at 12:53 p.m. Eastern.
Buckle
With
up, chat.
liftoff approaching, we're raising the volume on our launch team so you can hear the
Yeah,
final
pretty much,
preps
Boogie,
taking
yeah.
place.
What are we launching today?
Minus 332.
The NROL-70 or L70 payload, Urban. What is it? Yes, it is a payload. You're right.
325.
Second stage lock, secure at flight level.
Yeah, Alex, it's fine.
Minus 307. Minus 249.
FTS internal.
Flight termination system is on internal power, being powered by the batteries on the vehicle. It was great, Limpro. Yeah. We'll talk about that later.
CBC locks at flight pressure and flight level.
Okay, common booster core, liquid oxygen tanks. These three right here, those smaller tanks right there, they're at flight levels and flight pressures. You got a full tank of gas. That's what he's trying to tell you. Drone footage. Great shot.
T-minus 2 minutes. The rocket, payload, ground systems,
Hydraulic
and
pressure
eastern range are
1,000.
go for launch.
Vehicle internal.
Launch sequencer start.
All right.
If you just joined us, I'm Andrea Lenhoff.
CBC
I'm your
LH2 at
host for
flight
the
pressure
final
and flight
Delta
level.
launch today. Liftoff is currently scheduled for 12:53 p.m. Eastern.
SCS launch enabled.
Flight control system is enabled. Count has resumed. Or not resumed. Auto sequencer was initiated.
FPS armed.
Flight termination system is green. Inside of 90 seconds. This is the last of this rocket.
OCUs
They
armed.
have replacements.
SCS count started.
Flight control system countdown started.
T-minus 1 minute.
Go for main engine
T-minus
start.
1 minute.
Rock, report range status.
Range green.
Okay. The range is basically the air traffic control
Minus
tower
50.
for the rocket. Range reports green. Let's send it. $40 seconds.
Second stage LH2 secure at flight level.
Hydrogen on the Delta cryogenic second
Minus
stage is
30.
at flight level.
Status check. Go Delta. Go NROL-70.
All right. 20 seconds.
Minus 15.
Rofi ignition.
Rofi ignition. Hydrogen
10.
burn off.
T-minus
Faster
10,
8,
9, 8, 7,
68's full.
6, 5. We have ignition. 2, 1.
Lift off.
And liftoff of the final United Launch Alliance Delta IV Heavy rocket, carrying NROL-70 for the National Reconnaissance Office and closing Delta's 6-decade legacy of excellence in space.
Last Delta IV. Onward to oblivion. That's normal. The fire gets stuck in the low pressure areas. You're getting a little bit of hydrogen burn off coming from the gas generator dump. That's totally normal. It'll go away as they get higher up.
Still operating at enhanced power level.
No, Junie.
You are hearing the voice of Rob Gannon providing launch vehicle ascent data.
Parameters look good. Flight control surfaces look good.
Pitch over.
And we have fired the isolation pyro valve on second stage reaction control system. And the first step in readying that system for operation.
They were priming the DCSS reaction
look
control
good.
systems using a pyro valve, which is basically a one-time use valve. You basically stop and then
we
it's
passed
on and
through
that's it.
Mach 1 and Mach 2. Normal strips there. Everything looks good.
Maximum dynamic pressure.
All three boosters operating as expected.
A little windy up there. The vehicle's skitching around a little bit.
All three boosters operating as expected. Everything looks good. And we fired the pyro valve, pressurizing the reaction control system on the second stage.
Second stage pyro valve on the reaction control systems is activated. Can you tell what
What we're
orbit
looking
this is
for
going
is going
into?
to closed loop guidance.
Sure.
Kept it 3 or 4 seconds, and we've started closed loop guidance. Vehicle maneuvering as expected.
Closed loop
All
guidance.
3 engines continue to look good.
Indicating that the vehicle's working off of the inertial computer. Basically using the acceleration of the vehicle to navigate.
And we are 3 minutes to Corbico.
And 2 millimeters to the microphone.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
Space.
And the vehicle is now 1/2 its liftoff weight. All 3 engines operating normally. Everything looking good.
3 minutes in, everything looks
And the
real
vehicle's
good.
now 29 nautical miles in altitude, 64 miles downrange, traveling at 5,300 miles per hour. Everything continues to look good. And we've just passed through the Kármán line, reaching 100 kilometers in altitude.
62 miles up.
Everything looking good. 2 minutes to Corbico. Coming up on throttle down on the strap-ons.
Side boosters are now throttling down in preparation
And
for
we've
shut-off
begun
and
throttling down the
separation.
strap-on boosters in preparation for cutoff.
What he said.
We've now achieved min-power level on the strap-ons.
I always call them attachable boosters for a very good reason.
And cutoff. We have cutoff port and starboard boosters coming up on strap-on set, and we have strap-on separation. Disturbances look good. Throttled up the core booster. We're now at EPL on the single stage booster.
It's good separation.
And we've re-enabled steering following separation of the strap-ons. Everything looking good.
We just heard confirmation of port and starboard booster jettison. We have about a minute and a half until we reach our next
And we've
mission
started
event,
LOX
booster
phase
engine
chill
cutoff.
down on the RL-10.
Thermal conditioning and priming of the second stage engine, the DCSS, has started.
1 minute to Corbico. Housing temps respond as expected on the RL-10, and we've started LH2 boost phase chill down. Housing temps responding as expected. Flight control disturbances are small, and the core RS-68 continues to operate as expected.
How does it roll with one engine? Gas generator exhaust. Yep. There is a thrust vector controlled dump on the gas generator to get it to roll. Yep.
About 20 seconds
Smart.
to our next mark event, throttling down the core booster in preparation for Pico.
Beautiful. Stand by for center core booster cutoff.
And core booster is throttling down, coming up on booster engine cutoff. And we have Pico. Cutoff on the booster, everything looking good.
Look at the nozzle. Oh, that's awesome.
And state operation occurred right as expected. NEDs have deployed.
Nozzle extension is working.
And we have pre-start.
There we go.
Start and full thrust. RL-10 is up and running normally. Everything looking good.
Sweet. There it
Enable
goes.
steering of the second stage. Second stage operating normally. Coming up on
I have a model of it, J-Speed, yeah.
fairing separation.
Trisector fairing. Altitude is 146 kilometers. Velocity is 6.4 kilometers
10 seconds
a second.
away from fairing sep.
Flight azimuth was 95 out of the hole there. 95.2, indicating a
5
eastward,
seconds to fairing
eastward,
sep. And we have fairing separation.
eastward velocity.
Disturbances look good.
So 90-degree flight azimuth.
Upper
pretty
stage is
much.
operating normally.
Trisector
And
separation.
once again, steering has been re-enabled after the separation event.
This is Delta Mission Control.
That guy's
at
on the
T
gram.
plus 6 minutes and 55 seconds.
Get off the gram,
We
dude.
just heard flight commentator Rob Gannon confirm the successful completion of the early phase of today's flight, and all systems continue to operate nominally. While the mission has just begun, we did just see liftoff of the last Delta rocket.
See, he's smiling.
ULA
He knew he
President
got
and
caught.
CEO Tori
See?
Bruno.
They knew. He was on the
Good
gram.
afternoon.
What
a
the
lot
heck?
of you know that the Delta IV Heavy is, of course, the most metal of all rockets, setting itself on fire before it blasts into space. But I also want to talk about its tremendous contribution to our nation, to exploration, to national security. The Delta IV Heavy still today flies missions that no other rocket can fly. Soon Vulcan will pick up that mantle, and we're going to retire this venerable rocket that has made so much important work for our country. And I want to thank everyone who has been involved with the Delta IV Heavy. We have many employees who are here for the very first Delta IV launch, who are still here now for the last Delta IV launch to send off this great vehicle into its well-earned retirement. Thank you all.
See that guy? That guy with the mustache is a combination of Woody and Buzz Lightyear rolled into one. Seriously, he's the CEO of United Launch Alliance, and the guy straight up in his spare time has a farm and horses. So he rides around on his horses, does cowboy things, you know, after work, and then during work he goes and works on rockets. He's like Woody and Buzz Lightyear in one person. That's pretty rad. It's pretty rad. Guy's also a metalhead. Seriously, he posted pictures of him at a Sabaton concert. All right? A Sabaton concert. Okay. That's the kind of guy we're dealing with. All right. Hell yeah. I'm here for it. That's awesome. Yep.
So it's exciting to see it, but bittersweet, obviously, to be the last one. This Delta Heavy configuration is obviously a fan favorite. I know you've seen the most heavy metal of rockets. So definitely a unique and cool configuration. What is it about the Delta Heavy that makes it so special?
Well, so two things. It all boils down to the mission capability, so which is lift capability in many ways, and then on orbit. But the lift capability, the no solid motors, pure liquid, the 3 strap-ons, the slow, majestic liftoff. It's just majestic. Inspiring.
Yeah.
And there's nothing like it. You know, it makes your heart go.
I really felt it. Like, I feel like more than any other rocket launch, you really feel it in your bones and in the vehicle. So it's just such a cool thing to see, and kind of sad for it to be the last one. So speaking of last, let's talk a little bit about first. So earlier in January, we experienced our first Vulcan rocket. Went off pretty flawlessly, in my personal opinion, which is kind of a big deal for the first one. We also have an exciting time coming up with the first crew flight test coming up here very shortly, actually. So with all those firsts, you know, we are looking at one of our lasts with the Delta configuration in the Delta Heavy. So what would you say was this program's greatest accomplishment?
The greatest is hard to pick.
Just pick one.
So if you look at all the national security things, intelligence, the GPS constellation, everybody uses GPS, right? And you know, the mapping capabilities. I mean, you want to know where you're driving. You want to see what your house looks like in satellite view. Everybody can do that in part because of the satellites.
And every day, we use it every day.
Every day it's touched all of us. Yeah, it's amazing.
It's such a cool thing. I mean, working at ULA, you know, just to be a part of that small experience that we have here, but know the huge impact that it has. I mean, just an exciting time.
Yeah, we're enablers.
We are enablers, and we work on rockets, which is really cool. Yeah. Well, Bill, that's all the questions that I have for you today, but I do appreciate you joining us, and just really thank you for being here for this exciting last, and looking forward to a year of firsts for us and many, many more coming here in the future.
Absolutely, to mission success.
Great. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Well, we're just about to log up here for today, but before we do, I do want to thank Ben Chilton and Rob Gannon for their support of today's broadcast. You can follow more about ULA and learn more about our rockets at ulalaunch.com. However, before we log off, let's look at one more majestic look of that last Delta launch, lifting off the pad for the very last time. Thanks for joining us. T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. We have ignition. 2, 1. And liftoff of the final United Launch Alliance Delta IV Heavy rocket, carrying NROL-70 for the National Reconnaissance Office and closing Delta's 6-decade legacy of excellence in space.
What a monster. Ah, man, I love that thing. I'm gonna miss that. Well, that's it. I have a tie between my two favorite Delta IV Heavy launches. It's Parker Solar and EFT-1. Yeah. Yeah, Parker Solar and EFT-1. Parker Solar because I stood next to that Delta IV Heavy. EFT-1 because that was just a cool mission. Hey, Lev, thank you for the 5 subs. I appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah. End of an era, dudes. Wish we could have gotten a Delta for the Garden. No. Please hold. There is still one Delta IV booster left. It was the test mule booster from the beginning of the program. It's the Air Force has it, or the Space Force now. Yeah. That ooh, EMD switcher. Very nice. That could be used. I'm thinking about what's around. There are some DCSSs around that aren't, obviously for SLS. Like, there's a 4-meter variant floating around at an Aerojet Rocketdyne facility. I forget where it is, though. But there's enough parts to build one stack. One. Better than nothing. Kind of amazing you knew exactly where it was. I wouldn't be who I am if I didn't, man. It belongs in a museum. It's already in a museum. Keep an eye on that auction site. Yep. You gonna buy that TE truck? Dude, I could if I would. All right, AP. Good night, man. Yeah. The museum belongs in a museum. It really does. Yeah, that CBC is not in the best of condition. Hey, WD-40. Thanks for the raid, man. Did you get a good view? We got a pretty decent view on the stream, dude, but I heard it's a little high overcast down there. 10 letters. I just got out of work. Did I miss the launch? Yep. Joshua, I spent this morning watching the Eclipse VOD from yesterday. Actually, absolutely incredible you were to get such a good Eclipse footage from such a cheap camera setup. But I got to say, nowhere near as good as seeing 100% totality in person. After what I experienced yesterday, I absolutely, completely recommend that you see it sometime. Yeah, I got a lot of that yesterday. Guys, I couldn't. It was choose between go to totality and drummer not getting on his flight home. So, yeah, it is what it is, man. Totality, obviously. Drummer could have waited. We looked into moving his flights around, but those plans didn't culminate. So, what are you gonna do? Y'all should have planned that better. Yeah. There will be more. I'm not worried. I'll just have to be around in 2045. That's not that far away. It's only 21 years away. No problem. And then there's one in 2027, I think, that's going to go over Spain. So might have to take a trip to España. I know people over there. I'm sure if I showed up on Alex's door, he'd be like, yeah, come on in. Why are you here again? Look at this picture from Sawyer. Excellent picture. WD, did you respond? Beautiful view. Lost it right before separation. Nice, man. Nice. You can stay at my place for the next totality. Sounds good, man. Sounds good. But yeah, we got good enough footage given the circumstances here. I think our footage was fine. I don't know, Tessa. I'm from Spain. We could have a sleepover. Sí. Mucho queso. Your camera was great. Thank you. I've gotten caught up on on the ISS shot and the Starlink shot too. We'll talk more about that at Space News during Space News a little bit later. Lavi had a very good picture. Yeah. Great picture over there from Lavi. Very, very nice. Did a good job. Yeah, that sucks. But hey, like I said, bigger and better rockets are replacing it, so it's okay. Well, Shatter, you know, you wanna fly us out there? You know, like, you know, we just need to, okay, all right, Shatter, I got a plan. We find an airplane, and then we fly it to Australia. Yeah. Who are we hiring as a pilot? Don't know. We'll figure that one out. Gary, you could probably help. Yeah, see, I think with all the talent in this chat over here, I think we could get that done. You will get Scott Manley. I think I have people here there's people in this chat that have a little bit more experience than he does. Get a hold of coffee and we'll all go. That dude, I'm in. I'm serious. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's get it done. We'll get Scott going too. When is Space News? Space News should be around 5 p.m. Eastern. Was launching? The last Delta IV launched. Just a second ago. That was the last one, marking about 60 years of Delta missions. Yeah, Clayton, there you go. Grab DOS on a live view, stream the flight. We had a pilot rent an A330 for his retirement flight. Cost him around $500K for 120 people. That's a good idea. Well, whoever's interested in Slick 37 can get it now. Yep. To be honest, good riddance. The thing is Scrub Central. Going to see it was a burden on your wallet. There's a reason why I just cover launches remote, Sawyer. It gets expensive very, very quickly. This is a picture from Sawyer, guys, over at NSF. Fantastic. We don't know for sure, Nova, but we don't know for sure. Yep. It is what it is, guys. We'll get the next eclipse, okay? What was it used? What was used for solid fuel? There's no solid fuel on Delta 4, Lenko. It's 3 boosters that are using hydrolox, and then the upper stage is hydrolox as well. Hydrogen, liquid oxygen. I missed the fun. Any chance of a quick replay? Yeah. Give me one moment. All right, here. This is a replay.
Rope ignition.
T minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. We have ignition. 2, 1. And liftoff of the final United Launch Alliance Delta IV Heavy rocket.
What a beast.
Carrying NROL-70 for the
miss that
National
thing.
Reconnaissance Office and closing Delta's 6-decade legacy of excellence in space.
Nice clean flame. The flames on RS-68s burn a little bit orange, guys. It's because they're running a little bit fuel rich for temperature control, which kind of is par for the course with rocket engines. Yeah, what a beast, dude. Oh, I'm gonna miss that thing. What is the superfluous flames? So if you look right here, here, and here, see those? There's dumps on the RS-68. Oh, cool. There's dumps on an RS-68A. Here, I'll show you. So the RS-68A was basically derived from the space shuttle engines. But it's supposed to be a low-cost variant of it. Here, let me see if I can find a better picture. Here we go. This one, that one will kind of work. Let's see if we can find a better one. Yeah, this will do it. So, if you look, it doesn't look very complicated. That's because it isn't. Delta IV has 2 power packs in it. One is for hydrogen, one is for oxygen. And instead of like trying to take the gas generator exhaust and put it in the engine, it just dumps it overboard. It's very simple. For nozzle cooling, they made the nozzle out of heat shield. It's made out of heat shield. So it's an ablative nozzle. The nozzle burns off over time. So it's kind of, you fire it once and that's it. So what's that fire coming from? The fire is coming from the dumps. So this is dumping gaseous oxygen out the side, and that down here, the other one is dumping out gaseous hydrogen. And what happens is that, you know, those dumps go out and they find the hot exhaust and they light on fire. Now, I know what you're thinking. Well, why are the flames going up then? Why are they going up? Well, in these little pockets right here, there's low pressure. The reason why there's low pressure is because, well, the nose cones on the rocket and the booster push the air out of the way. So you tend to get a low pressure pockets of low pressure here between the exhausts. So you get your gaseous oxygen and gaseous hydrogen dumping out of these gas generators, right? And they find some heat and they combust. And when they combust, the flames get stuck in that pocket. Like, think of it like a tide pool, but kind of with aerodynamics. I know that that's a different fluid medium. I get it. Like, water isn't air. But similar ideas. They get stuck right here. That's why those flames are there.
Port and starboard strap-on still operating at...
As the vehicle gets higher in altitude, the ambient pressure goes away because you're flying out of the atmosphere. So the flames do subside. If they are basically expendable SSMEs, why doesn't SLS use these instead? They're not human rated, Shaw, and clustering RS-68s notice how these are kind of far apart from each other? Clustering RS-68s any closer than this is going to cause some thermal issues. You don't want one engine melting the outside of the nozzle. Yeah, through heat convection. You don't want that. That would be bad. Especially if they're sitting next to two gigantic solid rocket boosters, which also put out a lot of heat. Yeah, stuff likes to catch on fire. Do launches show up on the Richter scale? Probably a little bit. Hello, first time viewer. Your channel's really cool. Thanks to Katie. Right on. Yeah. I like rockets. Rockets are my thing. I use this Twitch stream to teach people about rockets and engineering and aerospace and civil, mechanical, electrical. A lot of different things. And I use video games to teach it. Or we just cover a launch. I mean, that as well. What qualifications do I have? Oh, I'm a huge nerd. Don't worry. Yeah, just in case that question gets teed up. I'm a huge nerd. I spend my days off stream reading about a lot of different things. Yeah, big nerd. Oh, nice one, bro. There you go. Cool. Do they examine the light coming from the exhaust to confirm the burn quality? I mean, Slappy, to an extent, they probably did. They're probably not going to do it with this Delta launch because there's not another one after. But every launch is heavily instrumented. Well, not heavily instrumented. It's pretty well instrumented, and every launch is filmed, right? Filmed and documented. There's a very good reason for that. It's so you can kind of look to see how the vehicle is performing. Basically, NASA, ULA, SpaceX, they're all filming in super high definition. And before it was like super high definition, before they, like filmed these launches in 4K, et cetera, they were shooting in IMAX basically. They used IMAX cameras for imaging the launches, for imaging like ignition sequencing. Like when you crank the key over and turn it, right? The reason why is because, yeah, it's a pretty dang violent event, and, you can use it to see if something didn't go right, or maybe there's something you haven't taken into account. Maybe it's going to do something you didn't know, or you're going to learn something new. That camera is not an engineering camera. This is just a camera. A lot of the cameras are on an isolator mount. This one is clearly not. It's picking up the vibrations, and that's why it looks like it's underwater, because it's artifacting the heck out of it. But you do see some plume interaction here. Note that, see that the shocks are lit up on that engine? This kind of dotted line thing going on here. That usually is some type of ice or something falling off the booster and interacting with the plume. Or it could be a chunk of the ablative nozzle coming off. That right there would probably, like, once again, they're probably not going to do it because this is the last Delta. There's really nothing left to learn, right? But there was some type of plume interaction here. If there was another launch, they'd probably go and look at that. And who knows? ULA might do that, just to figure out what happened here and see if it'll affect other vehicles. But yeah, they do film in pretty high definition. Not that camera. But yeah, even on this one, that's not an engineering camera. We still saw something happen right there with that right engine. Yeah, see that? Yeah, this propulsion system in this vehicle is all obsolete at this point. ULA is using Vulcan now, which is using methane in the first stage. Methane and liquid oxygen instead of hydrogen and oxygen. But yeah, there's always something to learn here. There's always something to learn with every launch. Even when you're in the operational phase, there's always something to learn. Every launch should get instrumented, because flight data is the best type of data that you can get to learn new things. Should you ideally learn new things when you're doing operational missions? No. You don't want to, for instance, learn that SRB O-rings in cold, windy weather don't work very well during an operational mission. You don't want to learn stuff like that. You don't want to learn that dropping an SRB and causing a microfracture in the casing could cause it to explode during a launch. You don't want to learn that. That's a bad thing. That's also learning too much. Just want to learn a little bit during every launch. Just a little bit, you know. But yeah, every launch, even SpaceX, who launches on a day-to-day basis, every launch is documented, and all the telemetry. This is actually super cool. So SpaceX is in Hawthorne. They have a database, big server rack. The server room is ridiculous. I've seen it. Server room is ridiculous. One, because it has a model of a T-1000 in it, or a T-800, excuse me, a Terminator, and a Xenomorph in the server room. And it says Cyberdyne Systems on it. But like every SpaceX launch, all the telemetry gets uploaded into the server after every launch. So it's downlinked from the vehicle, gets uploaded onto the server, and then that telemetry is checked against every other Falcon 9 launch ever. And if there's a red flag with the launch, right, the footage also gets downlinked into the server as well. And if there's a red flag, like something did something weird with the telemetry, it'll show up, it'll send an email to the engineer, and the engineer will go and look at the footage to see if there's anything weird. That's one of the reasons why SpaceX is able to achieve such high flight rate. Every single Falcon launch is checked against every other Falcon launch, at least from a telemetry standpoint. SpaceX's insistence on heavy instrumentation and checking against every launch and well, the software automation behind doing all that is part of the reason why they can fly as much as they do. Yep. The Datum Center. That's right. What was the eclipse like? Dark. It was awesome, Jens. Really cool. I didn't get full totality here. We got like 90% partiality, but I understand that's not the same thing. The next time an eclipse rolls around, I'll figure out a way to go see totality, okay? Hey, Eagle, tier 2, 49 months. Thank you. So, yeah. Yeah, every rocket is heavily instrumented. Every rocket, well, it's not like they don't go crazy. They don't have like redundant sensors and stuff, but everything has sensors on it. Like you don't. Here's the thing about rockets. It's so complicated and there's so much stuff going on so ridiculously fast. You're going to need sensors to understand what everything is doing. And the reason why you want to instrument everything is because with a rocket, if one thing goes wrong, it's particularly like in propulsion with plumbing or whatever, one thing goes wrong, it usually results in an explosion, and not the kind of explosion that you want. A rocket engine is an explosion, but it's an explosion that's being forced through a nozzle and shot out the back. So if you're exploding in one direction, you're good to go. But if something goes wrong, you usually end up exploding in multiple directions, or worst case, detonating in multiple directions. Even a detonation in one direction is a bad idea with a combustion rocket engine. That's really bad for it. Yeah, if you're exploding in multiple directions, something's probably gone wrong. And that's why they have all this instrumentation. You got to make sure it's right. Now, simultaneously, can you be 100% sure that it's going to work? Well, no, nothing is 100% certain, right? But that's why you have the telemetry to check. Spain will get totality in 2026 and 2027. Well, Quiero ir al España en 2026. ¿Sí o no? ¿Qué? All right. Anyway. Let's switch over to workers and resources, guys. We will do space news probably in about 4 hours from now. Hi from Notodden, Norway. Hey, Eric, what's going on? That was Portuguese Spanish. But understandable. Hey, you understood it. Good enough for me. Place was awesome. Thanks for the recommendation. Dude, no problem. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. I did tell you to go there. I forgot about that, Eagle. Yeah, dude. I'm glad you liked it. You got more pictures? Oh, you got more pictures. And because I told you to go there, I'm going to show one of these pictures on stream. I'm sorry. There's nothing I can do. It's beyond my control. I'm going to show them that picture. Yeah. Yeah, I don't hate that. Slappy High from Australia, right on. The last Delta launch was incredible, in tears. It was a good time. It was a good time. Yeah. That's a good time, too. That's Johnson Space Center in Houston, guys. If you're ever in Texas, head there. They have stuff that you might enjoy. Oh, nice space hardware there, bud. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, guy. All right. So, I am going to head off to play Workers and Resources now. Oh, yeah. Yeah. All systems. Absolutely. Have we talked about Sierra Space's drop pod tech, Halsey? Yeah, that's going to happen at 5. Let's play some Workers now. Workers and Resources. Which is, yeah, the most disgustingly punishing city builder I've ever played. We're going to play that for a little while. We'll do Space News a little later in the night. Now, before we do that, let's see. We do have a Starlink tonight. Starlink 648 launching out of Slick 40, which is down the street from where that Delta just launched. In about 10 hours and 28 minutes. No guarantees that I'll be able to make it to that. I got to get back in the groove. Took some days off, but we should be, we'll aim for it. We'll aim high. All right. I'm going to do Space News at 5 just because of this. It's just Starlink. Yeah.
Discovery, go at throttle.
Ravioli, 35 months. Thank you very much. Delta 4, so Eric over there in the YouTube chat, Delta 4 was the rocket that transformed you from an av geek into a space nerd. It was the space shuttle for me, dude, because it's, that whole falling with style thing. No, I'm not calling it flying. It does something when it gets, the space shuttle did something when it got near the ground. I don't know if that could be classified as flying, but yeah, I'm right there with you. I like everything, dude. If you guys don't know me, I like any type of mechanized thing. It could be a tractor. It could be a space shuttle, which is basically a flying tractor. Or at least aerodynamically, it's about as good as a flying tractor or a steam engine. Either one. Steam engine with wings. Yeah. But I like anything. Any type of mechanical things. I usually enjoy. Like a lot. Like I got a problem. Like I can't stop. Can't stop. All right. So let's change up the title here. Let's see. All right, let me change the title over there on the YouTube side of things. We figured out a way to do it and not have to end the stream. We'll switch over to gaming.